Hello and welcome back to At Bat Breakdown. This is episode 5, the show in which I break down pitch sequencing and pitch strategy in order to try to learn. So today my question that I'll be trying to answer is related to why don't hitters swing at meatballs, basically. We're going to restrict it to fastballs today, but as with the picture here in the cover slide, sometimes pitches just go right down the middle and they look very hittable to a fan, and hitters just don't swing and they don't do damage, and it seems like a missed opportunity. But today I'm going to try to learn more about the reasons why that might happen. So you may have seen I did a little Twitter thread on this today, but in doing some research for this episode, I found out a couple reasons why. So the first reason that a hitter might be not swinging at a fastball right down the middle is that they were just taking all the way, which kind of seems like the most obvious answer. But then there was another example that I tweeted that where the hitter appeared to just not have seen the pitch very well out of the hand. So that's another thing that can happen. There's a third kind of category of these takes where the hitter just doesn't swing, but then immediately appears to regret that they didn't swing, and that I don't really know how that happens or what's going on there, but that hitters are very frustrated when that happens. But the fourth reason or type of time that hitters are not swinging at pitches right down the middle, I think has to do with pitch sequencing, which is what I'm going to focus on in this video. So the question, again, that we're trying to answer is why don't hitters swing at seemingly hittable fastballs? So how I went about doing this, I'm going to go over to R real quick. I queried my database that has this column in it called PREDS. This is my predicted expected run value metric that I kind of came up with and blogged about a couple months ago. And so just focus on this part here. So what I'm looking for is, fastballs that were called strikes, so they were not swung at, that had a high predicted run value, meaning that the hitter was expected to create positive runs on that swing, but obviously didn't because they didn't swing. So there were a couple things I was looking for, and I landed on this at bat between David Hale and Rays shortstop Willie Adames. So what I wanted to do here is go over the scouting report on both of those guys, and then just try to spend the second half of the video getting in the mind of the pitcher and the hitter, and try to figure out why Willie Adames was frozen by a seemingly non-challenging fastball. So let's get into it here. So the pitcher we have here for this at bat is David Hale, Yankees reliever. He is not known for really anything, as far as I can tell. These are the pitches that he throws. Coming up here soon, he splits his 4 pitches pretty evenly. 2 types of fastballs, a changeup 21% of the time, and a curveball 18% of the time. One thing that I think is important is looking at the pitch breakdown by handedness. So that's what this second line here in R was, that I will go ahead and run. So this is the breakdown of David Hale's pitches in 2019 against right-handed hitters, which Willie Adames is. So we see about 65% of his pitches against righties were a type of fastball. About 29%, 28% were curveballs, and only about 8% were changeups. So in this at bat, we're not really expecting a changeup, even though overall he does throw it 21% of the time. But against righties, it's only 8% of the time. So that's why I think it's important to look at the handedness breakdown here. In terms of quality, I'm going to head over here to my Shiny app here that I made. For David Hale, his pitch types are not very impressive. He didn't pitch a full season, if I remember correctly, but even on a rate basis, his pitches were not very impressive. So his 4-seam fastball, 45th percentile, 2-seam fastball, 60th percentile, kind of throws it inside. And his curveball was in the 24th percentile. So really not anything special here with David Hale. So, he's just going to kind of be trying to get outs however he can. But there's not like a main, pitch that we need to be looking out for. I would expect him to throw his fastballs earlier in the counts, and then his curveball is kind of a put away pitch. If, such a thing exists with a curveball like that. So on the hitter's side, we have Willy Adames here. He had, a not great season here. If you look at the regular, production numbers here on Fangraphs, his WRC plus was only 97, was worth 0 offensive value. So that's not great there for Willy. So let's look at Willy Adames' his zone against right-handed fastballs and right-handed curveballs here. So first off, and I'm just going to go four-seam here instead of lumping four-seam and two-seam together because this tool doesn't do that very well. But against fastballs, we see that Adames swings a little bit more than average on this kind of up and in type fastball. When he does swing, is he whiffing? Yeah, a little bit up here. He's whiffing more than usual. And kind of in this area down here. So, the fastball, he might be susceptible. I think I would be most concerned about the high fastball. Let's look at the batting average. Yeah, he's definitely hitting this fastball low. That's a strength for him. This up and in fastball, he's also hitting pretty well. I'm going to see if that's just a small sample size thing, and it doesn't look like it is. So with him, maybe that high and outside fastball. But, due to the amount of whiffs here, it's, probably not a very dangerous pitch to be throwing him fastballs. I think, a pitcher should be okay. And then when it comes to curveballs, Adames really does swing at this kind of hanging curveball up here. And he does down here a bit. When it comes to whiffs, which is obviously what a pitcher is trying to do, looks like this low and away curveball is somewhere that Adames might be susceptible, but it's kind of a small sample size. We see he hasn't really seen that many curveballs, at this point in the year. This at bat that we're going to be looking at takes place July 5th, and this is the entire 2019 numbers, so it's a little bit tough that we're using Adames' scouting report from all of 2019 to evaluate how he did or how he was going to do in the middle of the season. But, it's an approximation. That's kind of what we have right now. And then with batting average on curveballs, he absolutely destroys this hanging curveball and really doesn't do anything else on this low and away. So if you're going to throw Adames a curveball, you're probably not going to want to hang it, but that's kind of a general, rule of thumb for pitchers. So, all right, I think we are ready to hop into the actual at bat. So let's look at the what's going on in the game here. So Willy Adames is 0 for 4 this game, hitting .247 at this point in the season. Really not a threat at the plate. The Rays are down 4 runs in the 11th inning. So and Adames is leading off. So you would expect that he's going to try to get on base here as he should. But with the first pitch of this inning, Hale's already at 27 pitches. I checked and they had not matched up earlier in this game. This is the first time that Hale and Adames are facing each other all season. But first pitch, I would think that Hale's just going to throw his highest strike percentage pitch, something that Coach Weinstein talked about in our last video, which is probably a fastball here. And Willy Adames is probably going to take it because, take a strike at this point in the game is just something that's kind of commonplace. So let's see what happens. All right, so we do get the fastball. It is, a pretty well-located pitch right here at the top of the zone. Here's something that I would like to learn more about is how Willy Adames reacts to this pitch. So even during the flight of the ball, he seems to be like leaning back. Seems like he kind of bailed on it. And I really don't know why that happened or what that indicates that he was thinking. I mean, I don't know. The scouting report says that Hale throws 65% fastballs. And in this case, I can't really believe that he would not be expecting a fastball, but he seemed surprised by it. So if you're watching this and you have a theory as to what just happened there, please drop me a comment or something like that. I would love to hear more. But anyway, we now move to 0-1, and so Hale was just successful with a high fastball. He is probably not going to throw a changeup. He is probably saving that curveball, like I said, as kind of a put-away pitch. So if I was Willy Adames, I would be expecting another fastball. As far as up and down, I don't really know. I think it's probably just going to be somewhere in the zone that Hale is trying to just throw a strike here. Okay, so it was a fastball. Interestingly, I'm going to try to find, so the setup is interesting. This is something that Coach Weinstein was telling me about in our last video, if you saw it, about with a two-seam fastball, which this was, the catcher appears to be set up a little bit too far. Like if Hale was throwing directly at the glove, it would seem that the ball would break even farther off the plate and be taken for a ball in here. So that's why, this setup might not be perfect. I believe that's Gary Sanchez back there. But in this case, Hale appears to be throwing it a little bit left of the setup, and then the ball cuts back right to where he wants it. And it's a really good pitch. That's the second pitch that he's throwing that's right on the paint, and Adames just fouls it off. So let's take a look again with an emphasis on looking at the pitch movement. Yeah, so now we're at 0-2, and we know that Hale hasn't thrown a curveball yet, right? Adames knows that Hale hasn't thrown a curveball yet, and that his fastball really is not a pitch that's going to be inducing outs. So on 0-2, I think this is kind of a straight cut curveball here. So see. So it is a curveball, and I think that this pitch really emphasizes something really important to understand about pitch sequencing, and highlights why pitch sequencing is important. I'm going to go back here. David Hale throws this pitch exactly where he wants it. Gary Sanchez is set up here. This is a really good camera angle for us to see that his glove is right here on the corner of the zone. And this is not a bad curveball at all. It's right off the plate. It's not in the zone. It's right off the zone. It gets a swing. So, on paper or if I was making my pitch quality model, I'm sure that my model would say this is a really good pitch. But in the context, Willy Adames knows that this curveball is coming, and he knows that curveballs are going to be low and away. That's what the scouting report said on him. Hale's not going to go with an indoor or a front door inside curveball. That's not something that his pitch is really conducive for. So it makes sense that this pitch is coming, and when Adames knows that it's coming, then it's really not a good pitch. Even though the metrics might say that this is a really good pitch, he's able to just foul it off and live for another count. So let's check that out again and watch how Adames really just doesn't have any problem with this pitch that should be really good. All right, so if you're the Yankees, if you're calling pitches right here, it's 0-2. You've thrown a really nice fastball up, a really nice fastball in, a really nice curveball away. So you could just go right back to curveball. Last count was 0-2, you went curveball. This count is 0-2, you went curveball. That's one thing you could do. You could also try to throw a fastball to get Adames' attention away from this low and away curveball, because his attention was clearly on this low and away curveball that we just saw. So I think there's two things you could do here. I already know what happens, so I'm not going to spoil it here, but let's see what the Yankees choose to do. Okay, so they realize, and I'm going to go back a pitch. So this is the previous pitch. They realize that Adames' swing looked very comfortable on this curveball. I'm going to play it. It's not a great swing, as we've talked about. It's not a great swing. He's out on his front foot. Sorry, I'm going to keep trying to find a good picture of his posture. This is not great, not great mechanics here, but he knew it was coming, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows that that pitch was coming. So what the Yankees do, instead of throwing that exact pitch again, this is now the second 0-2 pitch. Gary Sanchez says, throw it up here, which is, the target again might be a little bit too high. That's not really a competitive pitch. Because of course you want to try to get a swing on this if you can, and try to kind of mirror what they did with the first pitch of this at bat and put it right here. But Hale seems to miss his spot here, and he throws it, way above everyone's head. So that's not really a competitive pitch, and he knows it. He's frustrated here, as we saw a second ago. But now if you're Adames, you kind of are understanding, okay, he really wants to throw that curveball, but he doesn't want me to think that it's coming. So I think that this fastball was purely just to set up the next pitch, the next curveball. And I mean, we'll see what happens here. That's my theory. So it's 1-2. After that really high fastball, here is the fifth pitch of this at bat. So there's the curveball that we thought they were setting up, and he threw it. And it was, not a bad pitch at all. Again, according to the metrics, if we were to take every pitch and just, call it an individual pitch and evaluate it on its own merits, this would be a good pitch. It's in a really good location. It's very similar to the last one. He hit his spot. I'm going to go back again to where Gary Sanchez was setting up. I'm clicking around. Your video is not glitching. I'm just clicking down here. So this pitch is almost exactly where Gary Sanchez wants it. We're going to show it again. And Adames has a very comfortable take here because he knows, or he strongly suspects that a curveball is coming, and he, as a major league hitter, can identify when a curveball is off the plate versus going to catch the corner. So here it is again. Watch the comfortable take. Sorry for the glitchy playback there, but I think we got the point. So it's now 2-2, right? Hale's he's tried to throw this curveball twice on 2 strikes. And if you're Adames, you kind of have to be thinking he's going to go there again, right? I mean, he's had a foul ball and a ball. But if you're Adames, you're thinking his 2-strike pitch is the curveball, right? He threw 1 2-strike fastball, but that was just to set up another curveball. So on 2-2, you're up by 4 runs. If you walks this guy, it's not the biggest deal in the world. So he kind of has a pitch to play with here. If he misses another curveball, that's just kind of me thinking out loud. But I would not blame Adames for kind of, again, focusing his focus more or less to on this curveball down here. So let's see what. And there it is. I hope I talked enough about the curveball to get you to not be thinking about the reason that we're doing this whole post, this whole video, which is why do hitters not swing at hittable fastballs? So let's go back to to my R code here real quickly. I'm going to run this again. So this pitch, according to my model, that you don't really need to care about if you don't want to, but just going to hammer this home. So this pitch, of all fastballs thrown this season that were on 2 strikes, less than 3 balls, that's just, I was trying to avoid counts where a hitter might be automatically taking, which that's never going to happen on 2 strikes. So fastballs that were not swung at on 2 strikes, this pitch had the second highest expected run value, meaning that it was the second, biggest meatball basically of the entire season, which to me means, that this pitch should have been in a vacuum. This pitch should have been hit very far, at least for a hit, if not for extra bases. So, but again, if you think about the context, Willy Adames has his attention over here, down here on this curveball. So let's look at him when he realizes, halfway through, after it's too late, that a curveball is not coming. You know, it's going to be a high, kind of high fastball. So let's watch it again here. So yeah, as Adames walks off, he is clearly frustrated, not because he saw the fastball all the way and just decided not to swing, which we see happen sometimes, but because the Yankees just kind of played with him. You know, they made the right pitch call in that spot. One thing I do want to point out here is that I am not sure if this pitch was actually meant to be low. Gary Sanchez is setting up here as if he would for a curveball. I don't know if that's intentional to somehow try to make Adames sell him on the fact that it might be a curveball, but and I also don't know if that is where the pitch was intended to be. I think that would be maybe even a better pitch call if you have his attention here for the curveball. A fastball down here would really be beating him to the spot, which I don't think would be a bad pitch call at all. So maybe that's where it was intended to be, and Hale just happened to miss up and had it was a good result because Adames didn't swing and it was strike 3, but it was a bad result because the metrics indicate that that was an awful pitch. That was the second worst pitch that happened in this scenario in the entire season. So let's take one more look at it for the road, and then I will wrap this up. And Sweet. So there it was. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you like it, I am thinking about doing another video where I do this for potentially changeups, curveballs, sliders, a different type of pitch. So let me know what you think. And as always, I am looking for feedback on this. If you have anything to add, please let me know and contribute to the discussion and to the learning here. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.